The bell over the door jingled softly. Mia glanced up from the espresso machine, brushing a loose strand of hair from her face. It was him again. Same black coat. Same quiet eyes. Same order. Black coffee. No sugar. Every night at 9:15, without fail, he came. He'd sit at the far corner table, sipping slowly, staring out the window like he was waiting for something or someone that never came. Mia had made a game of guessing people's stories, but his was impossible to crack. He didn't wear a wedding ring. His watch looked expensive, but his hair was always slightly messy, like he had no one to smooth it down for him. One rainy night, she finally asked, "Do you always drink coffee this late?" He smiled faintly. "It's the only place that feels warm." Mia didn't press. She knew what it was like to cling to small comforts when life felt cold. She'd been there, working double shifts, trying to keep the lights on after her mother's passing. What Mia didn't know was that outside this little coffee shop, the man was Alexander Reid, CEO of one of the largest tech firms in the city and a single father to a little boy who hadn't spoken a word since his mother died. And soon, her kindness over a cup of coffee would change everything for both of them. It was a Thursday when she noticed the child. He stood just outside in the rain, small hands pressed to the glass, peering into the cafe. His hair was dark like the man's, but his eyes, those were wide and searching. The man turned quickly, opening the door. "Ethan," he said softly, kneeling. The boy didn't speak, only looked up at his father, then back at Mia. "This is my son," the man said, almost apologetically. "We're just passing by." Mia crouched to meet Ethan's gaze. "Hi there. Would you like some hot chocolate?" The boy's lips twitched as if forming words, but none came. He simply nodded. They sat together in the corner, Ethan cradling his mug, steam curling around his face. Mia watched as the man glanced at his son with an ache in his eyes, the kind that spoke of years of silent worry. After they left, her coworker leaned over. "You know who that is, right?" Mia shook her head. "That's Alexander Reid. Tech genius. Runs a billion-dollar company." Mia blinked. "Then what's he doing here every night?" Her coworker shrugged. "Maybe even billionaires need someone to remember their coffee order." That night, as she cleaned the counter, Mia kept thinking of Ethan's eyes, how they held both a quiet sadness and an unspoken hope. She had no idea that soon, she wouldn't just be serving coffee. She'd be holding the key to a little boy's voice and a man's guarded heart. After that rainy night, Ethan came with Alexander more often. At first, he'd just sit quietly, sipping hot chocolate while drawing in a little sketchbook. Mia made a habit of adding extra marshmallows, which always earned her the smallest, shyest smile. Alexander, however, remained reserved. He was polite but distant, always watching his son, always keeping his guard up. One night, while refilling their cups, Mia noticed Alexander rubbing his temple. "Rough day?" she asked. "You could say that," he replied. "Running a company, raising a child, sometimes I'm not sure I'm doing either well." Something in his voice, raw, unpolished, surprised her. "For what it's worth," she said gently, "Ethan seems happy when he's here." Alexander glanced at his son, who was carefully drawing a steaming cup of coffee. "Here," he admitted, "he's different, calmer, almost like he's listening for something." The next week, Ethan surprised her. Instead of just handing over his empty mug, he whispered, "Thank you." It was barely audible, but it made Alexander freeze. Mia smiled warmly. "You're welcome, Ethan." After they left, Alexander lingered by the door. He hasn't spoken since. He didn't finish the sentence, but Mia understood. She realized then, it wasn't the coffee bringing them here. It was the quiet, the warmth, and maybe her. And she couldn't shake the feeling that she was about to become part of something far bigger than she'd ever imagined. One evening, the cafe was nearly empty when Alexander arrived alone. Mia's heart sank. "No, Ethan. He's with the nanny tonight," Alexander said, noticing her glance. "I thought maybe I could talk to you." They sat across from each other, coffee cups between them. For the first time, he looked less like a billionaire and more like a tired man, carrying too much. "My wife passed away 2 years ago," he began. "Car accident." Ethan was in the back seat. He wasn't hurt, physically, but after that day he stopped talking. Doctors say it's psychological. Trauma. Mia esse trottightened. That's a lot for a child to carry. For both of us, Alexander admitted. I've tried everything. Therapists, specialists, nothing works. But since we started coming here, he paused, searching for the right words. He's changing, slowly. You have a way of making this place feel safe. Mia didn't know what to say. She'd never imagined that her late-night shifts and warm cups of cocoa could mean this much. Why me? She asked softly. Because you don't look at him like he's broken, Alexander said simply. For the first time, Mia saw something vulnerable in his eyes, something that made her want to keep them coming back, not just for coffee, but for connection. What she didn't realize was that Ethan's next visit would change everything. It was a Friday night, and the cafe was buzzing with customers. Mia was behind the counter when she heard a small voice. Daddy, she froze. Alexander turned sharply to Ethan, his eyes wide. It was the first time his son had spoken to him in 2 years. Ethan pointed at Mia. Daddy, can we sit near her? Tears pooled in Alexander's eyes as he nodded, unable to speak. They sat at her usual corner table, and Mia brought over hot chocolate without a word. She didn't want to break the moment. As Ethan sipped, he began asking little questions about the marshmallows, about the drawings on the cafe wall. His voice was soft, a little uncertain, but it was there. Alexander kept looking at Mia like she had just handed him the world. You don't know what this means? He whispered. She smiled, blinking back her own tears. Maybe I do. From that night on, Ethan spoke a little more each time they visited. It wasn't just coffee anymore. It was therapy wrapped in warmth, served with quiet kindness. And somewhere between the late nights and small conversations, Mia had noticed Alexander's walls slowly coming down. Months passed. Ethan now greeted her with a cheerful, "Hi, Mia," the moment he walked in. The once silent boy now told her about his drawings, his favorite books, even his dreams. Alexander had changed too. He smiled more, laughed even. And one evening, as they lingered after closing, he said, I used to think the only way to fix things was to throw money at them. Turns out, all it took was kindness and coffee. Mia laughed. Well, I'm glad to be part of the recipe. Alexander's expression grew serious. You're more than that. You gave my son his voice back. And you reminded me how to live again. Ethan tugged at Mia's sleeve. Will you come to the park with us tomorrow? Mia glanced at Alexander. He nodded with a hopeful smile. As they left, she watched them disappear into the night, her heart warm. She'd started as the barista who served coffee to a quiet stranger. Now, she was part of family's healing. And maybe, just maybe, this was the start of something even more beautiful. Because sometimes the smallest acts, like remembering someone's coffee order, can change a life forever.